Hello once again, I'm Francisco and welcome to another Vivaldi Systems dry cleaning software tutorial, and I'm proud to show you on this video our optional upcharge management within the program. We're going to divide this video into two parts. The first, I'm going to explain how the optional upcharge windows, how they work, and then some hidden secrets within the module. And then the second part, I am going to show you step by step how to add your optional upcharges. Okay, so first things first, let's open up Vivaldi. And so that we have the main menu up and running. Okay, so for this video, I'm assuming that you have some knowledge of the system, such as writing the ticket, picking up a ticket, editing a ticket, and even as far as adding your items and force upcharges. If you don't have any idea, I do have another video, other videos on that. So to create an optional upcharge, it's best if you understand how they work. When you write a ticket, which is what we're going to do right now, and select the customer. Let me just click on a random customer. The first thing that happens, Vivaldi automatically defaults to the dry cleaning tab, as you can see by the asterisks as on the bottom, with the rest of the classes right next to them, and the items right above them. In Vivaldi, you can default the classes when you write your tickets, and the magic of it is that you can do that with all your customers as well. So that when you select a customer, you can assign a class for that specific customer other than dry cleaning. And in fact, I think there's a video on that later that talks about the customer management screen, and then you could add it accordingly. To access the optional upcharge window, there are two ways for it to appear in this screen. The first is to select an item, and in fact you will notice we've selected an item, and then it should be on the right side. And then if you double click on the item on the right, it should lead us to the optional upcharge window. And this right here is the optional upcharge window. It filters by class that you selected and or the item that you selected. In this case, it's dry cleaning, and the item is sweater, and that we've selected. In here you see that there are the default colors down here at the bottom, which is what we call the fast colors. We have the item buttons here at the top, so there's item 1, 2, 3, and it goes all the way up to multiple items. There's a number of buttons all the way up to the top, and then the items inside the window, which what we call the optional upcharge buttons, with black boxes and ready for you to add your check marks to them. The way this window works is that you can select an item on the list and indicate how many items from the item area that you want to apply to that. So for instance, we have the sweater right now charging at $5.55, and we want to upcharge that sweater. We want to indicate that sweater is silk. So we simply click on silk, and then a pop-up should come up and asking you to select how many items are attached to this upcharge. We only have one sweater, so we want that one item to have that upcharge. And then once we selected that, we see that the change where it says upcharge, silk, and then one in parentheses, already updated. We could also do this with multiple items, such as if we want 2 silk sweaters and then 2 cotton sweaters from a ticket of 4 sweaters. We can do that, and then we'll see it update accordingly where I've showed you, such as right here. And in fact, we'll see it later on in the video. The reason we call it optional is that you don't have to select anything, or you can select many. On the other hand, the force upcharge window, once you selected an item, you have to select one of the force upcharges, and the problem is that you can only select one. So for instance, in this window, we can indicate that the sweater is gold, which, as we could see, is not part of the fast colors, the basic colors in other words, but rather an extra upcharge added onto the list. If you want to add additional colors or type of fabrics or patterns, or maybe even an extra feature that you see appearing at the store frequently, it may be best to add it onto this list. And you could have as many upcharges as you want. In fact, there should be, it could even go off in the page and there should be a scroll on this list. Okay, so let's add that gold and click on one on the pop-up window. And as we can see, it's been added to the upcharge along with the silk right next to it. One of the most important things about optional upcharge is that you have the option of containing a cost. For instance, I think for the silk, you could charge an additional 50 cents and it will add 50 cents for each number that you've selected. Okay, so let's close the screen so that we're back on writing the ticket window. Now let's add 3 sweaters. And let's double click on the 3 sweaters so that we go back on, so that we're back on the optional upcharge window. But before we double click, I want to show you a hidden button that people don't know about and usually not frequently use, that will send you basically to the same window, which is the optional upcharge window. It's called the upcharge button right above the ticket. So the way we would do it is we would single click on the sweater or on certain items, and then we would click on upcharge. It basically does the same as double clicking, but people find it easier just to double click, but it's always there for your convenience. So let's double click on this. So now we're back on the optional upcharge window. We now have 3 sweaters marked as $16.65. It may be different on your screen if you've added your own prices. Now let's make one of the 3 sweaters silk. So we click on silk and then we click on one. Once we've done that, you've noticed that there is a price down here at the bottom which says 50 cents, meaning that this silk costs the customer an additional 50 cents. If we were to add 2 silk, then it would total up to $1, meaning that this entire cost would be $17.65. But I think right now we're just adding, I know for sure that we're just adding 50 cents onto this right now. Now, how about if you made a mistake? So let's just say, for instance, you have made a mistake and you want to clear up the charge from the item. So we would simply click on Clear All, or we just clear the last upcharge by clearing the last upcharge, clicking on this button. Alright, since we also have 2 linen as part of our description / upcharge, then we would click on linen, and then let's click on 2. We could also describe an item by clicking on the appropriate button here in the center. Let's click on that, and then let's add something like this. One of the sweaters is ugly. And then you have the option of putting the item in a specific location, such as if we want to put this in alterations. Then when you want to, let's say, send something to alterations, you could add it onto this box. And then once you're done, let's click Save and Close. Alright, so let's talk about items on the optional upcharge screen, which is right above here. To demonstrate this, let's click on 4 sweaters back to the right ticket. So I've exited that optional upcharge screen, then click 4, and then we're just going to click sweaters. And let's double click on the item so that which lead us back to the optional upcharge screen. The way the items work is that if you want to specifically indicate the color or the upcharge, you can do that. To do that, you would click on item 1, and then its upcharge, such as its color or their description. So let's add both color and description for all 4 sweaters. So for the first item, I'm just going to click item 1, and let's indicate that the first item is blue and also silk. And then so for the second item, we indicate that it's red. Third item, green. And then fourth item, it's color yellow. Alright, and then once we're done, we're just going to click on close, and then we'll see that update accordingly right here at the ticket, on the right in ticket window. Alright, now that we're done showing you the optional upcharge screen and its abilities, there are 2 steps to adding optional upcharges to your system. The first is the way it defaults. The way it's defaulted is that you write a ticket, it defaults to dry cleaning, and then you could either double click on the item in the ticket window, or click the item and then click the upcharge button right above. And this is what we've been doing for the past 5 minutes or so. The second option to Vivaldi is that you have the optional upcharge appear after adding every item. So for instance, if we were to add a sweater, it would automatically go to the optional upcharge window without having us to double click on the item. So it would just send us there automatically. To do that, you would right click on the center of the screen, and then you would go down to properties, and then go down to where it says use upcharges on optional upcharge window, and then we just put the check mark and then click save and then close. And then let's go ahead and test that. Let's go ahead and add a new line number. Let's do 1 skirt, and yes, it automatically goes to the optional upcharge window. So let's click close, and I think I'm just going to take this off because I don't really like it going to optional upcharge all the time, but people do. So now, how do you add optional upcharges? In fact, that's a really good question. In fact, I'll show you right now. To do that, let's go to the main menu. You could either save and print the ticket, or I'm just going to cancel right now, but you could do whatever you want. We're back on the main menu. We just go up to Utilities, and then we just go to Optional Upcharge Management. This screen manages all your optional upcharges. This is for all the classes. But first things first, let's talk about requirements for an optional upcharge. That is, if we want to add a new optional upcharges using the new button. Every optional upcharge has to have a keyboard code indicated by the first column. So as you can see, this optional upcharge added button shirt has a keyboard code number 2. This one has T, and then you could use either numbers or letters. Remember that the keyboard code has to be unique. Alright, so for the next one is you must indicate the class, indicated by the second column. The D stands for dry cleaning, L for laundry, A for alteration, there's H for household, and I don't think there is a P, but P stands for press only. You could list all the different types of classes that you want that upcharge to appear in the class column. So for example, line number 3, you can tell that it has a D and an L, meaning that a button will be sewed for items pertaining to both dry cleaning and laundry, and then it would add an additional 75 cents per item. So let's go down and let's try to find silk. And in fact, as you might remember, before we clicked on the sweater and we added the upcharge silk onto it. And yep, we find it down here at the bottom of the screen. You will notice that there is a D for dry cleaning, meaning that this upcharge will appear every time you enter an item under the laundry or dry cleaning. But let's say we only want the item to the upcharge to belong only to the dry cleaning. We could just simply edit that, take off the L, and then we just click save, and then we see it update automatically. One thing we haven't mentioned is the item column. You could indicate also the upcharge only for the item you've added for this column. So for example, if you have an item that military crease, for example, a military crease to only appear on a laundered shirt, and the code for the shirt is S, you would simply click on add the S onto the item, and then to only belong to the laundry class, and then it will add an additional 40 cents per item. Also remember that once you've added an item to the item column, the upcharge will only appear for that item under those classes. Alright, so now for the fun stuff. You will notice that there are instructions and disclaimers that are up at the top of the screen that may appear overwhelming. But it's a really nice feature in Vivaldi that I think people will use the most if you follow the instructions that I'm about to give you right now. there are certain keyboard codes, such as the percentage sign, the pound sign, at symbol, I think there's dash here, and an exclamation point, that affect in different ways. So for example, if we use the percentage sign as the first character of the description, in fact I think there's certain examples. So there's a percentage sign here, I think there's a pound sign right here. The amount will be calculated as a percentage. So as we can see here, first character of the description for an amount will be calculated as a percentage, and then you may use a negative sign onto the amount. So right here we can see that there's a negative 20 onto the amount, and that would simply say that we want a 20% discount. If we were to take off the negative in front of it, it would just simply add an extra 20% onto the amount. So let's go ahead and try that. Let's add a new button so we can test that. Let's make the keyboard code Y. I think that one's available. Let's make it capitalized. And so for the description, we would add a percentage, and then let's just put 50. And to add a discount, I think we would just put discount onto it. And we would just add a negative 50. And that would simply do a 50% discount. Now that should work in theory, and in fact we'll just test it later on the rest of this video. Alright, so let's click on save. And now you will notice that the next button, I think the next code is the pound sign, which is specifically designed for pleats. Anytime you use the pound sign, it's going to multiply the amount by that value. So for example, I think there is, let's see here. Yes, right here. So for household, you can see that there is a charge of $1.09, 90 cents actually, per pleat, and it could be assigned for, let's say, curtains. Maybe B could stand for curtains. So if a customer brings in 10 curtains, for instance, it will cost them an additional $19 plus the extra you've added for the curtains to begin with. Alright, so the next one is the dash. And that overrides the amount of the item. So let's create a new upcharge. Click on new, and I think the next available one is X. We just simply add a dash onto it, and then let's click on override, and with an amount of 0, and let's click save. Alright, so the next code is the exclamation point, which will ask you to describe and price an item. You can do that by adding a new line, and then I think the next one is W, and then we add an exclamation point with a description of describe or something. And then we just click on save without adding an amount onto it. And the next one is the @ symbol. I think this is the last one, which will override the current price with a custom price. And so let's add a new line. This is very similar to the dash symbol we just talked about a minute ago, but instead of overriding it, it lets you add additional money onto it. So let's choose which one's available. I think U is available. And then we just use the @ symbol, and then we just type in current price. And then we just click on save. So let's test all these upcharges. So let's go back to the main menu, and then we just click on write ticket. We choose a random customer. Let's choose one sweater. And let's go to the optional upcharge window by double clicking on the sweater. And then you will see the new upcharges appear. So there's a 50% discount, the override, the describe, and then the @ symbol, all with its specific codes in front of it. So to test it, let's just choose, for the first one, let's choose the @ symbol indicated by the keyboard shortcut, the U, on the list. A pop-up should appear allowing you to change the item price and upcharge. So I think you're overriding this one. I'm not so sure. So let's add $3. Not 300, $3. There we go. And then once you're done, we'll just click save and close. Let me see. Alright, so yep, I think it does override it. So I think the sweater used to cost $5.55. Now we've overwritten that price with $3 to $3. Now let's go ahead and add another item. Let's see, vest. Let's go to the optional upcharge, and then let's say we just want to give this particular item a 50% discount. So we just use the keyboard shortcut Y, or just click on it. We'll just click on 1. And as you've seen, this originally cost $3.75, and we could see that it has reduced it with an additional $1.88. So if we click on close, it should, yep, a half discount. Alright, so let's do the dash to override the current price. So let's do this one as well. No, actually, let's just add a new item. We double click on it. So the dash should override the price from what we put in the optional upcharge, plain and simple. So I think for the override we just did the price as 0. So this should be free. So once we click on override, we click on 1, we click on close, and yes, we see that this is now free for the customer. Let's say if you made a mistake or something, we just want to give the customer a free coupon. Now the last upcharge lets you add additional price and description. It does not let you override the price. So let's do an additional sweater. I don't know why I'm clicking sweater all of a sudden. It's just bright and red. So let's double click on it, and here we go. The exclamation point. Click on 1, and this should let us add. Let's just say we're just gonna add $1 onto it, and I don't know. Maybe this sweater is also ugly, and then we're just gonna click on save and close. We close again, and yes, it's added that $1. So from $5.55 to $6.55. And as you can see, optional upcharge may seem overwhelming, but it's a very, very powerful tool. Hopefully you'll take some time and use this feature, and before you know it, you'll use it all the time. Thank you, and I welcome you to check out our other videos in our channel. Till next time.